Hey everyone, it's Joshua from Parent ProTech. We're back with Joshua from Crime Stoppers of Houston. And Joshua, today we have a really easy conversation.
We're walk in the park, yeah.
We're talking about porn. And this affects so many students, so many teens, so many kids. There was a Common Sense Media study last year where they surveyed a group of young adults, and they found that the average age of first exposure to porn to be right at 12 years old. And the part that really stood out to me is in that same study, 58% of those who first saw porn said they weren't even looking for it. They just found it online, on social media, somewhere. And so that's the challenge I think we're faced with is, hey, so your students are probably going to encounter this somewhere. But also, maybe how can you set up some practical limitations? And then more importantly, how can you help them navigate this? Because if they are going to encounter it, what does that look like? And I think there's also something to highlight here about shame and the challenge that comes with porn is, I know when many students see it, they feel bad. They know, hey, I probably shouldn't be looking at this, but it's when students don't have any context, any information around it, and they don't know who to go to, they're kind of stuck.
And they're curious.
Yeah. Any advice you'd share on that?
Yeah, for sure. I would just echo what you said about conversations. That has to be the first step.
Yeah.
I think about to my own experience, there were no conversations on porn and what it is until my parents found out I was watching it. And by then it was too late.
Yeah.
Right. I even think about coworkers here. We talk about this all the time. One of my coworkers, her 8-year-old son was watching and she had no idea how to have that conversation. So even if you're in it, it is still easy, right? It's nothing.
Cakewalk.
It is one of the most difficult things that we can talk about. But if we can talk about it, eliminate the shame, and give kids a roadmap to navigating this crazy thing that they're seeing probably on accident for the first time. They weren't looking it up. Either a friend showed it to them in the cafeteria. They clicked on the wrong link. They turned on the TV and it was on the wrong channel. And now they're seeing something that has changed their life forever, right? So how can we give kids a way to reckon with that? I think that's probably our main responsibility.
That's exactly it. I know for me, I was at a friend's house with friends and some of my buddies were just laughing, looking at a device. I had no idea what they were looking at, walked over, and that was the first time I saw porn.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I was able to go to my parents. I had a church community that supported and was able to help me navigate that. But so many students that we talk with don't have that. Yeah. And they don't know who to go to. They don't feel like really they can go to anyone. So now their framework, their standards for relationships, for what to expect out of physical intimacy are coming from completely unrealistic videos, images that just are not going to mimic relationships in the real world. Yeah. Something that's worth highlighting here is parents can set up some practical limitations when it comes to devices. Yeah. Like you don't have to give your child the newest iPhone with no limitations. I mean, that's a simple one, but there are some simple steps you can take. Do you have any idea? I mean, this is such a big problem. Students are finding it in so many different places. Where are students finding porn? Like what are the places that if I'm a parent, I should be aware of?
So that same study you mentioned from Common Sense, there was another statistic that said 1/3 of teenagers are accessing pornography via social media, right? So no longer are they even using just the traditional websites, right? Especially here in Texas, they can't, right? There was a law that says anybody under the age of 18 cannot access these websites. You have to actually verify your age with a photo ID.
And no teen is going to that much.
No teen is going to do that. A lot of adults aren't even going to do that.
Yeah.
Right. And so a lot of them are turning to social media. Now, there are some platforms like Instagram that don't allow any kind of pornography or nudity. If you post it, it gets taken down immediately. But there are other platforms that do allow it. It can be posted and shared and sent to people. And that is where a lot of teens are accessing their pornography, right? So it is the websites and the platforms that parents might not even expect, might not have even heard of. And those are the ones that we really have to address.
A big one we hear about is X.
Yeah.
Formerly Twitter.
Yeah.
It sounds funny that we're talking about X with porn, but that's it. And they even are very open about allowing adult content. Now you do have to hit a box that says, yes, I'm above 18.
Yeah.
But there's no further verification. So anyone can click that.
Anybody can do that.
And even you mentioned Instagram. I know from our experience, these AI systems are good at picking up porn or so like nude images if they're shared, but people are very creative.
Yeah.
And we've seen even accounts that that get through these restrictions that basically they show everything but.
Sure.
You know, it's like it might not be showing the complete graphic image, but you get the point and you see everything else. So I think it's still important for parents use parental controls and be aware of who are the people your child's interacting with on social media. So many social media platforms and tech companies aren't even fully equipped and aren't doing enough when it comes to this. And so it really puts a lot of responsibility on the parents. When it comes to Apple, for example, so many youth and teens have iPhones. And Apple has added this feature where there's this in-device AI that scans incoming images. So if I'm a teen, someone sends me a graphic image, it will say, it looks like this could be explicit, or it has a full warning it throws. And then there's still a button that says, see content anyway. And I can hit that and I can still see it. Instagram has the exact same thing. If someone DMs me and it has a graphic image, I will see a little warning, and then it will see at the bottom, it will show see anyway, and I can still click that. So the challenge is even the systems that are set up to protect teens and youth are only going to protect them to a degree. They're only there to help. So I think it's so important that parents teach your students, who can they go to? Is it you? Are there other people? Who are those people in their lives that when they encounter something that they don't know how to handle, they don't understand, that they don't have the full context around, help them know they can come to you, and that you're not just going to get them in trouble. Consequences matter. I'm not saying there should be no consequences, but a lot of students tell us they're afraid of going to their parents because they don't want to get in trouble. And I get it. And so I think it's so important. Help them know, hey, you can come to us and we're going to focus on helping you, helping problem solve before the consequences.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right, man. Like, I think there is so much, and there is so much shame. We go back to the shame. There's so much shame and fear and embarrassment that might come from even just accidentally looking at it, even intentionally looking at it because you're curious, right? But even if somebody sends it to you, somebody who either you think you can trust or a complete stranger. But I think in those instances in particular, that is really when we need to encourage kids to speak up, because introducing pornography or any other sexual content is actually a very common tactic for groomers, right? As they are trying to build a relationship with the victim, they are also trying to sexualize it. And one of the ways they do that is by sending their victim explicit images or videos or encouraging their victim to do so as well. So again, parents, right? Be on the lookout for how your child may be accessing, maybe seeing pornography. Is it just them looking at it? Is it somebody sending it to them? And then from there, there are steps that we can take to keep them safe.
We've talked about beginning with the conversation. I think there's no better place to end than just a few practical resources to help parents. I know, for one, there are a lot of great porn blockers out there. There are great systems that you can set up on your child's device to help them. But there are also apps and platforms that go a little further. Like, for example, one is Covenant, and they not only have porn blocking, so they help restrict porn from their browser, but they also have accountability. So they're trying to get, if a student is struggling with this, if an adult is struggling with this, make sure there's accountability partners in place. And I think that's our goal at the end of the day. But depending on the device you have, I'd say reach out to us. We'd be glad to help find that particular solution to fit what you're looking for. But also when it comes to beginning the conversation with your kids, there's a great book series called Good Pictures, Bad Pictures. Whether you have a 7-year-old or a 11-year-old, they have different developmentally appropriate books that introduce the topic of porn in an age-appropriate way. And this, I think, is so important. A lot of parents say, but I don't want to be the one to introduce it. I don't want to introduce them to something before they're ready. We hear that a lot. And it's a valid concern. But also, would you rather their friend at school introduce them to porn, or would you rather to be the one to introduce them to it and to give them context as to what it is and how they can respond?
Yeah, because I think the moment that if you're waiting until the right time, you're too late. Again, we said the average age is 12. That means there are kids younger than that are being exposed to it the first time.
And even from our research, the families we talk with, it seems like in almost every case, we are hearing stories of my 7-year-old, my 8-year-old, my 10-year-old.
Parents, this is something that you cannot wait on. My parents were too late having the conversation with me. I don't want y'all to be in the same boat. Again, if you're waiting until the right time, you're probably going to be too late. As Joshua was saying, there are ways to have this conversation at an early and age-appropriate in an age-appropriate way, but we need to be having these conversations.
It will be awkward. It will be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But your child will thank you one day. They might not in the moment. They probably won't in the moment. Probably won't a week later. Probably won't a month later.
They'll hate it.
But they will hate it. But I guarantee you one day they will be glad that they had context and that they were able to understand something that we're all going to encounter. Whether we like it or not, we're all going to see this. It's widespread. And you can help them navigate that for the first time.